Ladies and gents, polish those shoes and crank the gramophone. It's time to dive headfirst into the decade that danced like no one was watching, the Roaring Twenties. Now we got flappers and fringe and bootleg gin, jasmine blowing as the night rolls in. From Harlem Nights to Hollywood gold, stories untold, scandal and bold. We regret nothing. We're talking swing, we're talking sass, top hats, headlines, and backstage pass.
Welcome back to We Regret Nothing. I'm your host, Sean, and today we've reached the grand finale of our deep dive into the fabulous fashion of the 1920s. Joining me, as always, are Andrea and Michelle, and we're also joined by our resident fashion historian, Lori, who's been guiding us through the glitz, glamour, and bold style of the Roaring Twenties. In our last two episodes, we walked through 20 unforgettable fashion items and narrowed them down to a top 10 that truly defined the decade. But today, the stakes are higher. We're trimming that list down to the final five, the five pieces of the 1920s fashion that deserve a place in our time capsule and a one-way trip into space to represent the decade's unique style. Real quick, our top 10 in no particular order was the flapper dress, the cloche hat, Oxford shoes, the bobbed haircut, Art Deco jewelry, the raccoon fur coat, a blazer and plus fours, the finger wave, the cigarette holder, the boater hat. So, which of these iconic looks will rise to the top, and which will get left behind in the dust of the jazz age? Let's find out. Welcome, Michelle.
Hello.
Welcome, Lori.
Hello.
Hello, Andrea.
Hi.
Okay, so let's just start with Lori. This outfit that you're wearing, and thank you for wearing an outfit special for the show, but
Thank you.
tell me about the outfit you're wearing. What's going on here?
So this is, well, a little Halloween since it's October with the orange, but primarily it is a homage to the menswear that some movie stars like to wear, like Marlene Dietrich. She favored that style. So, and a little bit of airplanes on my scarf. Amelia Earhart. Little shout out to Amelia Earhart from the 20s.
Lori, that's why you're on this show. That is...
Look at these.
Yeah,
Look at these two schlubs.
I have the haunted market.
And I have the haunted mansion.
See? So we're
Oh, you know what? Okay.
Halloween.
I apologize, YouTube. You're bringing it as well.
No.
You're wearing sweatshirts.
We dropped
that
it
say
off a
haunted
street
on
away.
them. Okay, so number one, the flapper dress. Does anybody have any held rounds from last episode? Any more thoughts about the flapper dress? Lori?
Definitely top 5 for me. Because I think it.
She's a guest. I'm going to allow it.
I mean, if we're gonna just thoughts, you just want thoughts in general, or you want it? Is it?
Oh no, we don't. I'm sorry. This is actually on me as the host. We are going to vote on this at the end.
At the end.
And so Lori didn't realize she was breaking the rules because I didn't lay out the.
You probably did.
He did.
So,
I didn't.
And Michelle
Lori,
always breaks them, so
just,
that's...
we're just going to go over each one of the 10.
Okay.
Again,
Final
any more
thoughts.
information that we have, final thoughts before we vote.
Final thought is, it is a definite look of the 20s. When you think of the 20s and a dress that someone would wear, I think the flapper dress falls into that category.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Iconic. It is.
I would love that to come back.
Flapper dress?
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be
Were people using the word iconic correctly?
both.
Okay.
But I mean, if we're bringing back the misogyny and racism and a fascist regime from the 20s, let's bring back some fashion too.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. The hater and the pretty.
Okay, so then I'm just going to go over some of the highlights that we talked about, right? But you just said the flapper dress is culturally significant as a symbol of female liberation, and then also as a symbol of a direct challenge to the restrictive values of the Victorian era, which they were just coming out of. So it's loose, it's a simple design, and the silhouette represented newfound social, physical, and sexual freedoms for women in the 1920s. So to Lori's point, and to all, I think everyone agrees that just seeing the dress kind of represents all of that. And then going back to that Victorian era, it actually did a lot for the 20s as you think about, we're going to go as far away from that as we can, from those ideals or whatnot. But that generation, that fashion relied on rigid, bone-enforced corsets to mold the female body into that hourglass figure. This flapper dress, straight, loose cut, so that they could dance. And we talked about the Charleston and some of the others. But then the other thing, it de-emphasized the waist and the bust of the female, giving it the garçon or Michelle.
Garçon means boy.
Look of the flapper dress, right? It celebrated a more youthful, androgynous body type, which was, again, a radical shift from that previous era. Then, unlike the multi-layered and cumbersome dresses of that era, this is lightweight, functional, comfortable, so allowed women to engage in social activities. I keep saying dancing, but I think there's more to it than just dancing. We start to show some more, even though they had to wear stockings, but knee-length hemline, which was once considered shocking, and then sleeveless design. So now we're seeing legs and some arms, and that helped assert their independence and then, we already talked about some of the, and I'm saying quote unquote, unladylike activities of the flappers: smoking, drinking, driving automobiles. Clutch your pearls. There. And so again, the flapper dress, I think, served as a visual protest against the expectations of society. And we'll vote on it later, but I think we're all going to break the rules here. We all know what's going on. And what the last thing I'll say is, as much as it did represent this decade and all that, from what I could find, the flapper dress actually wasn't prominent until after 1925, and that look died by late 1929. So as much as it may mean to us visually, like you all had mentioned, going to a costume party and it's the 20s, you're wearing a dress like this, and all of the things that this meant visually, it was only around for less than 5 years.
So how insane is that? The impact it has for something that was just a blip. Like, yeah, that I fucking love this dress.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else about the flapper dress? Okay, awesome sauce. Number 2, the cloche hat. Michelle?
I think this also is very like nobody, like, while, like, I mentioned before that it is like maybe a bucket hat is a form of a cloche hat. Nobody really wears a cloche anymore,
No.
right? You never see it. So when you see it, again, I feel like it's kind of the same thing. When you see that hat on a woman with a short haircut, you immediately would be like, oh, that's a photo from the 20s, or that person's playing something from the 20s. It's and they were beautiful, and you could make them at home. So I think, like, we talk about the socioeconomic parts of this. Same thing with the flapper dress. You could make one,
Right.
even if you didn't have a bunch of money. Again, very iconic look. Does speak very much to that time and kind of no other, right? When you see it, that's exactly what you think. Because nobody's walking around the mall with a cloche
No.
hat on.
No,
I agree.
Andrea, anything more on that?
no.
Lori?
I think Michelle's totally spot on with that. And what I think it did bring, even though the flapper dress, like we were talking about before, gave it the freedom and individuality and independence of a woman, a cloche hat still lended a little bit of femininity to it. Where it was a bit of a mysterious look depending on how you wore it. But I would agree with you in the fact that people aren't just going around wearing them. It was specific to that decade.
Yeah.
It's what you wear when there's a run on the bank. But it's your own money, George.
So yeah, this going back to the flapper dress, this hat worn with that dress generally symbolized women's independence and modernization. Its close-fitting bell shape was ideal for bobbed haircuts. We'll get to that in a few. And so, but beyond fashion, I think Michelle brought this up, but we mentioned this in the previous episode. The hat could also communicate social cues with decorative elements signaling a woman's marital status. What would you say? Single and ready to mingle?
That's what I said. Single and ready to mingle.
But here's I'm maybe putting too much thought into this, but as I was looking at pictures of this hat and the women that were wearing it, so I think Lori just said this, but it was worn low on the forehead, and so it worn low enough on the forehead. It took me a lot of photos to come up with this, and like I said, I may be crazy, but it looked like women had to lift their chin up a little bit to see.
Yeah.
And so it actually changed their posture from like more of like a head down posture. I just noticed a lot of women tilting their head back and having their chin up, which again gave this like, I don't know, proud, like it looked like a confident pose, more confident than I had seen when I was comparing the Victorian hats. But yeah, I don't, like I said, I just noticed like
Yeah, I like
this,
that too.
I do too.
Totally. Like that.
the chin coming up and making women look more confident.
Yeah,
But like I said,
I like that.
I like it too.
I don't know.
Very much.
No, don't minimize it. That I've never heard that before, and I completely support your message.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so number 3, Oxford shoes. Oh boy, and we'll start with Andrea.
They're shoes. They're
They are shoes. Yes.
they're shoes. I do, like I said, I do like these shoes. They're shoes. They're still around.
Yeah.
So to me, it's not as much indicative of the 20s because they're still here.
Okay.
There's if I saw somebody wearing Oxfords, I wouldn't be like, oh, you're going to a 20s party, or oh,
Right.
you're cosplaying this or you're doing that. I'm like, oh, cool
Exactly.
shoes, bro.
And I don't want to argue with you and B influence the panel here for voting, but the statement that you just made that they're still around.
Yeah.
One of our category, or one of our ways of looking at these items is longevity. Is, you know, are they still around today? So it's really funny. The flapper dress only lasted 4.5 years.
Yeah.
But when you look at it, you go, that's the 20s. Oxfords, I would agree. Probably you see somebody wearing Oxfords and you go, okay, but they're still around. So that
Yeah, it's a
That's-
fine
yeah.
fine
It's a very-
edge there of like, yes, it's still around, which means it's timeless, but because it's timeless, I don't necessarily associate it with a specific period of time.
Yeah. And definitely.
And we've done that for other things.
yes, we
too,
have. We've
right?
talked about movies and things
Mhm.
like that we've been like,
So I
it's
think
not the
that's-
same. Yeah.
That's where it gets interesting.
Yeah.
Here is that, you
Yeah.
know, we're not sure should it go in the capsule because does it solely represent
You
the
know what's
decade?
funny is if you just said Oxford shoes to me, number one, it'd be like far soil. Like, why are you yelling Oxford shoes at me? but if I think Oxfords, I would go to the 50s.
Mm.
That would be my generation or my decade that I would
Yeah.
more associate with it. So
okay. And Lori, any thoughts?
I agree. They are timeless and they are not specific to a decade. And I would agree with you that the 50s they do play a more prominent role in the look of fashion. So I would agree with both of their points.
Okay.
yay. This is why we love Lori so much.
Okay. So just a little bit about the best I could. So the history of Oxfords is a little spotty, but I think I can put 2 events together that kind of led. Well, there were many events, but so in the early 1800s, students at Oxford wore these stiff knee-high boots as part of their uniform. And around 1825, they got chopped down to ankle boots with a side slit that buttoned up. And then like 20 some years later, so that's what Oxford then, their uniform boots were ankle boots with a side slit. In 1852, Queen Victoria buys Balmoral Castle in Scotland, and Prince Albert, as he's taking in his new property their new property, he needed a pair of outdoor shoes that he wanted. So he commissioned Joseph Sparks Hall to make a new pair of boots that were comfortable enough for long walks on the grounds, but also stylish enough to wear indoors at gatherings among the upper class. So Hall creates what he called the Balmoral boot that extends just above the ankle with a distinct closed lacing system to keep out mud and water. So my assumption is the students at Oxford had a side slit because they didn't want anything getting into the front. Hall creates this Balmoral boot that has the slit in the front, but because of the closed lacing system, it keeps stuff out of there. It had low heel, rounded toes. So the Balmoral boot, a distinctive seam that runs parallel to the ground, starting at the throat line near the vamp. That part's not that important, but Queen Victoria liked the boot so much, she commissioned 6 pairs for herself. And we've talked a little bit about the royals and how everybody copied their fashion. It wasn't long after the creation of the Balmoral boot that the students at Oxford, the slit moved to the front with a closed lacing system. And then eventually the ankle got cut down to a shoe, hence the Oxford shoe. That's the best I can piece together the evolution of high boot down to Oxford shoe. I get nerdy about this. I'm kind of sorry.
No, the history is very interesting.
Okay, so next, the bobbed haircut. We're back to Lori.
Perfect. I mean, aside
Perfect?
from the finger wave, I would say perfect. Very on trend for the 20s. I mean, everybody was doing it. Again, it goes back to the flapper dress, independence. They were like, I'm not having this long hair. I don't want to mess this long hair. I'm just going to chop it off. And a lot of the celebrities, movie stars were doing it. Again, lends to the androgynous style that the flapper dress offered. So, very iconic.
Yeah. Michelle?
I feel about this the same way I kind of feel about the cloche hat. Like, if you look at photos from the 20s, most, forward-thinking, independent women all had the bob. But if I see someone with a bob, or I see a picture from a different decade with someone with a bob, I don't automatically think about the 20s.
Mm-hmm.
If you put all these things together, like if you push forward all of, like, you show me the picture of the flapper who has the cloche hat on and the dress and the haircut and the cigarette, then that's the whole package deal, right? That's the thing you think of in your mind's eye. So again, I'm on the fence of whether this makes me think of the 20s when I see it, or I know that it's so much part of the 20s. And again, is one of those timeless things. Like, it comes and goes in fashion, and as but I'm on the fence on this one too, even though it is completely the look I see in my brain when I think about it.
Can I make another comment about it?
Of course.
No.
Because you always, when you analyze it, you have such a good way of breaking it down. And I think I'm kind of feel about the bob, now that you say that I feel about the Oxford shoe is a timeless thing, because you think that different decades, people have adopted the style, like Coco Chanel
Sure.
in the 20s, but then you go on to other decades and you see prominent figures with that
Yeah,
same
you're going to
hair.
get Twiggy later on,
Right.
which will evolve into a pixie cut, and then,
Yes.
right? So you're seeing it
So it may be something
across
that's
the ebb and flow of it.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's hard to,
Yeah.
it's hard.
like
This
that.
is hard work.
It is. The verdict we have.
Andrea, any thoughts about the bob?
Yeah, number one, I used to rock it, but my husband didn't like it as much, so I grew my hair out.
He sounds like a knucklehead.
He is. The bob,
So much for fighting the patriarchy.
right, grow my hair long. But when I think of bobbed haircuts, I do, like, if you put the whole package together, 20s, my mind always goes to the 40s, because that's when women had to cut their hair for that worked during the war effort. So bobbed hair, I always lean more towards 40s. And they started to do the shaved cut here with the bob. And bobby pins were also I know that's a whole 40s thing, and I'm back in the 20s, but yeah, it's Oxford shoes. It's time. But I'm not necessarily like the 20s.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's that's what makes this so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Sadist.
So yeah,
Look who's married to.
another thing I was thinking about was, okay, so Victorian and Edwardian eras, women's hair. I couldn't come up with it, imagining how long it would take for some of those hairstyles. I was looking at pictures
Oh,
of women's hair in the 1900s, 1910s, and yeah. So
And
less
remember,
time
you
consuming.
couldn't wear it loose after a certain, your hair was only loose if you were not married. So by the time that you were, or if you started to work as a teacher or anything like that, like you had to fucking braid your hair, do this. And then when the styles came, like,
That's what I'm saying, Michelle. The motion you just made, wrap it up, hold it with pins, and it just. So number one, this is a lot less time consuming and easier to manage. But then the other thought that I had was it is irreversible. When you chop your hair, like I don't know how long it takes to grow hair. I've been bald for most of my life, but again, like if you look at in the 20s, the societal norm for a female is to have long hair that is done and all
Your
this
waist.
stuff, and you just chop it off. That's pretty irreversible.
Yeah, there's no going back.
You're making a statement there by chopping your hair off.
But I mean, that's really how that whole decade was defining boldness in every aspect, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
They were wearing, how they were wearing their hair, like we talked about in the last episode, swimming and things like that. Like it was big.
Oh, I had a third one. Sorry. I had three thoughts on this. But then the other one was females' ability to play sports with a bob. Like, go back to the hair thing. And how do you, like, play any sport or do anything athletic with that hair? And I think the bob kind of opened up a little more athletics, too, for females. Or at least they could do some of the things in
Way
athletics
more
they couldn't do
manageable.
before, is what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But
I kind of want to bob my hair again.
you should. Don't listen to your husband. He's a moron.
No, that's number one, still fighting the patriarchy with long hair. Fuck off. But no, look at right now. It's wet because it's a pain in the ass when it's long to dry it, do all this. It's like, yeah, bobbed hair it just doesn't look good on me. Oh, fuck.
Not true.
I don't believe it either.
Number 5, Art Deco jewelry.
want those earrings.
Michelle.
I love the look of it. I love when I see people wearing it. Again, probably because of my not knowing the exact history of it is another thing I don't know that I look at and immediately think about the 20s. But I think that's a me thing. That's probably a me thing. I think it looks amazing. I love like I think you can make a direct line from that to like when in the 80s we were all wearing big neon
Yes.
hoops
Those
and
three little-
bottles and
yes.
those little plastic
Yep.
crazy, just like, right?
So
and the
many.
rubber bracelet
Yep.
thing and the whole Madonna, right? Like,
Yep.
I think you can draw a direct line to that. Yeah. So again, I don't know. Do I look at, if I see it on a person from the 20s, then absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. Like that again, the whole package picture makes sense to me. If I just saw somebody wearing like a big, like a big ring or, a big bauble bracelet or something, I don't know that I think about the 20s necessarily.
Andrea, anything else?
No, basically everything Michelle said. Like, oh, and your earrings last time were fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, man.
I wish I could. What type of earrings do I wish I could wear?
Dangly ones?
Yep.
Chandelier?
Yep.
Yeah.
Dangling
Dangly
ones.
ones?
No, they irritate me. My ears are massively pierced. I wear no earrings.
Oh.
Massively.
Massively.
Lori?
I'm a rebel.
I agree with the ladies. I think it is not just the 20s. I think it made a statement for sure, but I think it is another thing that comes in waves and makes it came back huge in the 80s.
Yeah, and the 60s, right?
60s,
When like
yes.
hippies
The mod-
and
the
like the
mod
mod
look.
look.
Yeah.
Yeah, both sets of those people would wear that stuff.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Again,
I
I
don't think
think-
it's exactly, when you think of the 20s, it's not something that you're like, oh, that's for
Mhm.
sure the
Yeah.
20s.
That's another one where I shift Art Deco more to the 30s, only because I very much think of like the Agatha Christie drawing room murders, things like that, and where it'd be like, okay, well, your mother's house in the country where everything's done in fucking tartan, and in my sitting room in the city, I have all the Art Deco.
Yeah,
and all,
that style
Y-
bled into furnishing
Yeah,
and
yes,
other
yes,
things
yes.
too. So
Architecture.
yeah.
like you had the best new
Architecture,
designer.
Yeah.
I just think of the Chrysler Building and
Mhm.
Empire State Building, and I'm pretty sure like season 3 of Project Runway, they had to do an Art Deco where like somebody did. And if Tim Gunn is listening to this, call me and let me know if I'm wrong. But Tim Gunn would
I want to
listen.
do my make. I want to do it so bad.
But
I love that show so much.
yeah, like I don't think Art Deco /20s.
And you just touched on this, but Art Deco is the movement, right? We're talking specifically jewelry, but the movement.
Sorry, I did shift into like
No.
winter and
I talk about the movement first, and so Art Deco is short for French Arts Décoratifs, decorative arts. So Art Deco is, but in its origin, the origin of this is these bold geometric forms that come from the Vienna Succession, Cubism. That this is the movement, right? And from the outset, this movement was influenced by the bright colors of Fauvism, the Russian ballet. In the 20s, designers, including René Lalique, Cartier, and some of the others that you've probably heard of, they tried to reduce the traditional dominance of diamonds by introducing more colorful gemstones, emeralds, rubies, sapphires, and they also placed a greater emphasis on very elaborate and elegant settings, featuring less expensive materials such as enamel, glass, horn, ivory. And so, like I was trying to make the connection of, you have the Art Deco movement and then how that influenced jewelers and jewelry makers. So these cuts, the emerald cut, Asher cut, Marquise cut, baguette cut, all of those lended to this style, this Art Deco style. Cartier and the firm of Boucheron combined diamonds with colorful gemstones that were cut into the form of leaves, fruit, flowers, and they made these brooches. Brooches. Why did I?
No, because
I know, but I'm like, I know that's not right. Why am I saying that? Brooches, rings, earrings, clips, pendants. And so, yeah. And then the last thing, we just talked about bobbed haircuts. So that opened up earrings. And so a lot of Art Deco earrings. Yeah. But I think all of that to say, I agree with the assessment that you show me a piece of this jewelry and I don't know that I can say it's from the 20s or anything like that. Number 6, the raccoon fur coat. Andrea.
This is so 20s. This is so 20s. And I really wanted it to be the Nutria coat so I could tell my Nutria story. So I'm a little pissed about that the 20s couldn't make it so. But I would, there would never be a time that I saw somebody in a raccoon coat that I wasn't like, that's the 20s. It's like like I said, the oye, the old Charleston contest. Like that is, yeah, the 20s.
Yeah. Lori?
Yes, I would agree. It is very reminiscent of that time
yeah, again, nobody is walking around
today.
with that big ass raccoon. Even when you think about other iterations of fur coats,
Yes.
this one's still very
Yes.
distinct. It was big and poofy and long
Yep.
and like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like nobody is walking around wearing
No.
the Cloche hat and the raccoon fur coat
Right.
around the mall. It's just not happening.
Why not?
Yeah, bring it back.
There's
Don't
a-
bring it back. We love raccoons.
I was going to say, Michelle, you're advocating for the murder of raccoons for
Oh,
fashion?
be all synthetic as shit.
Fake
now.
raccoon.
Fake
Oh.
raccoon.
So we talked about this at some length, but I don't think that I mentioned because this was really a staple for male college students. But it started at Princeton in 1923. I don't know why they were wearing them, but then all the other Ivy League schools see Princeton wearing it, and then they start wearing it, becomes a staple. But then also open top cars, like you all brought up, so didn't really have effective heating and often open tops. So the Raccoon fur coat made sense. Then that crazy hit song by George Olson, "Doing the Raccoon," and then it was depicted in the Saturday Evening Post. And even that on the cover of the Post was a bunch of college guys in those. And also, I don't know if this mattered or not, but I was thinking about you could hide flasks pretty easily in them because they're bulky.
You know, who didn't do that at a college and
but this is another trend that ended in 1929. And so it was only around for, just like the flapper dress, this was only around for like 5 years. But we still kind of remember, we still think of it as the 20s. And then in 29, it was the stock market crash, depression and all of that. The excess of a raccoon fur coat probably didn't make a lot of sense, but it was replaced by lighter material after in the 30s ish, camel hair or some of the others like that. So yeah, okay. Oh, number 7, the blazer and plus fours, and I think we're back to Lori.
Very 20s. That's what I think of a man wearing in the 20s.
With a raccoon coat.
And especially the plus fours. I mean, it's just a look. It's just a definite, when you think of what were the men wearing, what was popular, what did the upper class wear, that seemed to be quite where people got their fashion from. What were the royals wearing? That's what they were wearing. Was these knickerbockers, plus fours. Great names, actually, back from the 20s.
Yeah. Yeah. Michelle?
I agree that I also love that for men it was a little bit looser fit for them too, right? It was you could go out and do all the sporting things, right? Are you going to golf? Are you going to play tennis? Are you going shooting? Whatever.
Yeah.
Right? But it was a little more, because you
boys
think
could
about it like sure.
Yeah.
Yes. But they, most of the time, like if they were a working professional, they're wearing something very formal, form-fitting, right? And if they were a factory worker or whatever, they're wearing a uniform of some sort or something very, just not flattering. And this was a way that you could go out and do some kind of sporting thing and still feel very fashionable, yet also very functional, right? So, and I do picture it in my brain, like somebody leaning on a tennis racket or a golf club. Like, it's very iconic for that.
And Andrea?
I agree with everything Michelle said. I don't have anything to add.
Okay.
Can you see me pulling the puppet strings from on camera?
But yeah, so I think you all hit everything I had. It's just cultural shift for men for more relaxed, comfortable, individualized menswear that they could wear for sports, and originally developed for golfers and game shooters. So Michelle, you said shooting, but that's actually the baggy cut of the plus fours allowed for greater freedom of movement than traditional knickerbockers. Yeah, and then, I think we talked about this, but Edward, Prince of Wales, we've been talking a lot about him, but on this podcast for fashion, but wore him in 24 for his trip to America, and that everybody wanted to look like Edward, Prince of Wales, apparently. So, I think that's it for those. This might not be as hard it might not be as fun as I thought. Let's see, who just went first? Andrea? Lori did. Oh, good. Michelle, the finger wave.
Okay, so love it. Looks great. I, in my brain, don't, again, associate it necessarily with the 20s, but I think that's because I probably, again, being the age we are, associate it with late 80s, early 90s women in hip hop. When I think about a finger wave, that's what I think of, right?
Missy Elliott.
Yes, early, yeah. I think about it in that fashion sense that was a very, look that defined a lot of, Black American women in hip hop and some culturally appropriating white women. But still,
We are in
like,
Tacoma.
again, when I see it, I don't think about the 20s, but that might be a generational thing, right? Again, for me, that's what I think of. So I don't know about it in the 20s.
Andrea?
I do think about it in the 20s because photos in my house of
people you actually are related to or were. Yeah.
You know, there was a lot of finger waves. You know, my parents were born in 32 and 39, so their parent, you know,
Andrea looks great for 70, right?
She does.
I mean, come on.
Yeah. But evil never dies, so apparently it doesn't age either.
it doesn't.
I'm sorry, Lori, anything on the finger wave?
I'm kind of torn on this one because I think it has evolved. I mean, it was definitely like Josephine Baker was that was her iconic look, was the finger wave, and she was huge in the 20s. But I think it kept going on into the different generations, whether it was a little bit longer or, I mean, even into the 80s where it was almost people try to copy it with crimping almost. Like, I think it is something that is into other decades as well, because I don't think it ever really went out of style, in my opinion. Like you were talking about Hannah wearing that when they
at prom.
prom. So I don't think it ever really went out of style. It is very iconic look for sure for the 20s, but I don't think it's only 20s.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I do see that.
Yeah, so Michelle, I think, brought this up. She did, but it has its roots in Black female hair artistry. But I had a different thought. I'm trying not to get in trouble, but I have to share some of these thoughts. But we talked about the bob and what the bob represented. And I feel like the finger wave was a way for a woman to have a bob, but also kind of make it feminine. And so if you want to, I'm going to bob my hair and I'm going to be with the modern style, but I still want to have a touch of femininity, then the finger wave kind of allows for that. And I'm not saying it's a good or a bad thing. I'm just saying, like, in the middle there is, I don't want long hair, but I don't want to necessarily look like a boy either. And this is kind of the middle ground.
Touched on this in the previous discussion about how that for slaves it was a necessity to have their hair short, and then they didn't do it out of I'm trying to be independent woman, right? Beyonce and Destiny's Child, right? Like they did it out of necessity. And then for them, they did not have access to, any kind of real modernist tools. So the idea that you could use your own fingers, the curling iron that God gave you, right? And make to still feel like you had some kind of control over. I mean, again, I'm speculating, America, but like, for those women, it was a way to still feel fashionable or to still feel like they had some control over it. And then as it spread into Josephine Baker and then out into, broader America, then it became more about fashion rather than function.
Right.
So I think, to your point, just like it's a way to still feel feminine in a time where, at least for, some folks, they didn't have control over what they could wear and how they could look. And so this was a way they could, right? Yeah. Who was going to say you couldn't stick your own fingers in your hair and make a little design, right?
Yeah.
Again, I'm not saying that's historically accurate, but it would seem to make sense.
Intuitively, it seems to make sense to me. So, and I have no idea. I'll just give you the numbers because I'm not going to say that the finger wave or any of this stuff had that much of an effect on this. But in 1920, the best I can find, there was estimated 5,000 beauty parlors operational in the United States. 5,000. In 1932, there were over 40,000.
Jesus.
So in a span of less than 10 years, somehow, and again, I don't know if it was technology. I don't know if it was it's probably like most things, a combination of events. But doing your hair, whether it be the finger wave or whatever in the 20s, required a whole bunch of people in the U.S. to open up these beauty parlors. I just thought those numbers really jumped out at me. That's a huge jump in a very short amount of time. Probably neither here nor there, but okay. Number 9, the cigarette holder. We're back to, is that Andrea or Michelle? It's Andrea. Andrea, you still want to pull one off a cigarette holder, right? The opera length cigarette holder? Yeah, I know you will.
Yeah.
Okay. Lori?
I think it says 20s. When you look at any piece of art, if you look at old pictures, you are looking, they have a lot of those art pieces that they're the profile and the lady with the long cigarette holder. I think it kind of fits together with the whole look of the 20s.
Yeah. Michelle?
I think functionally it is very the 20s too, right? Like if you saw someone now with it, it would be like, oh,
Where are you going?
that,
Or
and
it's
also
an
just if you're doing
affectation.
that for an affectation,
Yep.
yes, because
Oh,
this had function,
Yeah.
right? Also, it was very fashionable and often
But you have a filter now.
incorporated,
And you're not
also
learning.
incorporated the Art Deco, but this was functional for the filter part of
Yeah.
it, the keeping the ash off your clothing from staining your gloves or fingers. It was very, and now, I guess, advancements in tobacco.
Yay.
Yay. None of those things are a concern anymore, right? So you didn't need, and I don't know when the tides turned on that, but it definitely wasn't that decade. So it was very functional as well. So
Yeah.
again, now if I saw one, I'd be like, oh, that's very, right. That's for an affectation. It's very Phyllis Diller. It's very,
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
something you're doing as not a bit or a gag, but also just like it's not necessary.
Yeah.
Then it was, if you were going to smoke, I would argue it was necessary.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and for that decade and maybe into, a little bit further, but not much more than that. After that, it just became, you could just smoke a cigarette, or smoking cigarettes fell out of fashion, literally, and you didn't need it anymore.
Yeah.
So I agree very much. Think about that when I see it.
Yeah, it's still a little mind-boggling, but men have been smoking in public forever since there's tobacco, and women, it wasn't until the 20s that they actually started smoking in public. They just think of, that really scrambles my eggs a little bit, but this, as women start to smoke in public and all of that, this cigarette holder just visually it became like a visual marker of this newfound freedom that they got, and a little bit of their we've talked about the flappers and all of that, but this is kind of an FU to, I'm in public with this very noticeable cigarette holder letting you know what I'm doing. Very defiant.
Could make an argument too, like I guarantee you there were women in rural areas, right? The same like with the chaw, right? Like you got a big piece of chewing tobacco. Women were doing that too. And I'll bet you in rural areas they were also smoking, but they just weren't out in public. And suddenly it went from a thing where you might be like turn your nose up at it a little bit, like, ooh, gross, to this very chic, very, oh, how fancy, right? Turned a thing that women were not supposed to do, that was considered disgusting for women, not for men, to this very chic new, like kind of fancy pants thing. And then it suddenly became like, oh, well, that's sort of acceptable now.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yep.
put lipstick on the pig and suddenly, like, it's okay.
It doesn't look so bad. Pig doesn't look so bad. Michelle just brought up the Art Deco movement, but the jewelry side of this really embraced the cigarette holder. So leading to these bold designs and the use of new materials. Lori brought up bakelite, but they also were using chrome and these enameled metals. Cartier was big into cigarette holders, created these elaborate and beautiful cigarette holders that became a status symbol. So not only, very visual thing now, we're talking, I have a bunch of money, so look at my cigarette holder. And again, just I think visually this is on par with the dress and some of the other things we've talked about that you see a picture of this and you kind of got a guess of around what decade. And number 10, the boater hat. Lori.
It was definitely a look like Michelle was referencing
It's a choice.
with the raccoon coat. It was definitely the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that I would necessarily see it and think the 20s. I would, because like we were talking about the origins of it with the gondoliers.
Mm-hmm.
I think it has many other. I just don't think. Okay, if I see somebody in a boater hat, I'm going to say it's 1920s. I think it was prevalent in other times.
Yeah, I think about it kind of the same way. Not that anybody asked yet, but like I also think about like a carnival barker,
Right.
Yeah.
right? Like, oh, you're
Yeah.
at the you're at the
The garters
fair,
here on the
yeah,
sleeve
the
and-
garters on the sleeves and
Yeah.
like the little
Yep.
cane, the little bamboo cane kind of thing. So I
Right.
like I see it in all kinds of
Yeah,
Like
things.
barbershop quartet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that kind of
very much so. So it's across the decades. It had different functions for different reasons, and so yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. I don't see, like, if I picture in my mind right now, some Ivy Leaguer wearing the raccoon coat and the +4s. I don't always necessarily see the boater on it. It's not a 20s thing for me because that hat is iconic, has been around so long, and is on so many different things that I'm never, if you said boater hat to me, I will tell you the first thing I think about is Dick Van Dyke and Mary Poppins.
Right.
But
Yeah.
that's not, it's just, yeah. And I think that's 1919.
Wow.
It's votes for women.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I don't have that much on this, but the hat did symbolize carefree summer leisure. And I feel like we talked a lot about the male side of this, but for women, this hat represented a degree of modernization and liberation. Maybe not as some of the other things on the list, but they were wearing this for sports, outdoor activities, but women, would decorate their boaters with ribbons or flowers. And we've talked about Coco Chanel, but Coco Chanel actually got her start in fashion by buying boater hats and decorating them and then reselling them. So the boater was always hands down her favorite hat because that's what got her started in the business, was the boater hat. Yeah. Anything else?
No.
Oh, I thought you might try to do something to delay the inevitable because here we are.
I
Here
feel
we
like this
are.
one's not going to be as hard as
I-
the others.
As we got to the end of it, I realized this.
I think it was harder to go from 20 to 10.
I think so as well. But okay, so number 1, the flapper dress. Andrea.
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
Michelle.
Yes.
Okay. Shocker. Number 2, the cloche hat. Lori.
Yes.
Michelle.
Yes.
Andrea.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, this isn't going to be that.
Sorry, Sean.
What a knife fight.
Oxford shoes. Michelle.
No.
Andrea.
No.
Lori.
No.
Okay. Bobbed haircut. Andrea.
No.
Lori.
Yes.
Michelle.
A reluctant no.
Oh wow. Oh, Lori's so hurt.
Fired.
I was trying to ease Lori's letdown there.
I like it though.
Art Deco jewelry, Lori.
You say no with such regret.
I know. Michelle,
I
You know how I
No.
love jewelry.
Andrea,
No.
raccoon fur coat, Michelle.
Absolutely yes.
I just still can't believe you're voting for this.
I,
The
listen,
murder of
I'm
innocent
not in.
raccoons.
Hey, for the
Are they
record,
innocent? Are they innocent?
I don't want the raccoons dead, but it is what it is.
For the purposes of this podcast, you are playing by the rules.
Correct.
And I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Andrea, raccoon fur coat.
Yes.
Lori,
No.
Oh.
Lori's not coming back from the 30s, right?
listen, I mean, if it didn't make sense to you before, I already had 2 yeses. It was already in. But I still want to hear everybody's vote. I still want to hear everybody's opinion. So, blazer and +4s, Andrea.
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Michelle.
Yes.
Okay. That is 4.
Oh, the blazers and plus floors.
Fleurs.
Floors.
Fleurs.
Floors. Jesus.
Scandinavian for 4.
I know.
How dare. The finger wave, Lori.
Regretfully,
No.
Michelle.
No.
Andrea.
It's called We Regret Nothing, Lori.
no.
No.
It is called that.
The cigarette holder, Michelle.
Yes.
Andrea. Did I say finger wave? I said, we did finger wave. Yeah. Andrea, cigarette holder.
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
Well, that's it then. No boater.
No voter.
But I heard your argument, and I actually agree with that argument about this is supposed to be defining a decade by looking at something.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this and
Yeah,
like
because
everything
listen, the
on this.
aliens have no instruction when they open the capsule.
No.
Just open this
Fashion.
capsule and okay, so our final list, the top 5 items, fashion items from the 1920s, the flapper dress, the cloche hat, raccoon fur coat, blazer and +4s, and the cigarette holder. Lori.
I don't know why my alien sounded like a robot.
It did. It did. It was
Oh, I guess it did.
Yeah,
but it
sorry, I
makes
meant to
sense
say bleep bloop, which still sounds like a robot. You know
Or
what?
Lori.
Let's talk.
I like
Sounds
it. I like it.
beep bop boop.
beep bop boop.
Think about that.
Lori, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for
made
having
this
me. I had so
great.
much fun.
This was awesome.
The best.
Michelle and Andrea, thank you as always.
Thank you, Sean.
Not the knife fight at the end I was hoping for, but still very entertaining. So I appreciate that. And to everybody else, thanks for hanging in with us. And I hope you had fun. Check out our socials. I'm still trying to post them on Blue Sky. I think we're boycotting TikTok, but we could talk about that later.
Fuck Oracle.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so take care of yourself. And until next week, we'll see you then.